'Twas the night before Madden, and we have props in sight. Mozzie and Greatness are going to put up a fight.
Oh my God, really?
All right, what's up, guys? We're back with Hard at Work Roll Call, and tomorrow is the Madden 16 release, which means we're less than probably 2 weeks away from Hard at Work 16 League. We're joined by Brenton, Danny, and Ian tonight. So what's up, guys?
What's going on, HaW?
Not a whole lot.
It's a Monday night blues, and we got Madden on the way here in a few hours. Should be a good night for everybody.
Are y'all going to the midnight sale, or y'all just gonna? I know some of y'all already got it pre-downloaded and digital copying, but
Yeah, I bought digital. I'm too goddamn old and I have a job, so going to midnight releases isn't really my thing anymore.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I bought a digital as well, just for the ease of access of it. Being able to play exactly at midnight as opposed to having to wait in a line to get the game, then having to drive back home, then having to do all that other shit you have to do nowadays.
Yeah, then install it. That's like the worst. Not only do you have to wait to get the game, then you got to wait the hour and a half it takes to install the piece of shit.
hate that shit.
I haven't even bought the game digitally yet. I'm that far behind.
Hashtag slacking.
Hashtag boot coach.
I'd have to say that is what I do like about EA Access with the EA games. Is even if you do get the disc copy, if you've got access, you get the few days to play it. So I don't feel like I have to go to the midnight sale because I've already played 10 plus hours of it, and so I always get the disc copy for trade-in values and stuff. But I do like that EA Access because I just get off work tomorrow, go pop it in, I'm ready to go. So, but with EA Access being brought up, let's start with Moz. How was your Access experience?
So far I've really enjoyed the game. I know a lot of people have complained about the aggressive catching, and we touched a little bit pre-show on that. And I don't find it as OP as other people. I can see how it could be, but for the most part, man, most of my aggressive catches were coming up drops, and I don't know. I just didn't see it being as OP as some people believe, but I didn't get as many user games in as some other players, so it could be different in that aspect if somebody's just constantly doing it. So, but other than that, the game feels great. A lot of the animations really bring the game to life, I think, and the DB interactions is really going to make some games a lot more fun to watch, I believe.
Over to Danny.
Oh man, I've had quite an experience in my hours of EA Access. I don't really play much user games to start with because I don't like playing head-to-head online, and I did play a lot of Draft Champions actually because I thought that was a really cool looking mode that they brought out, and I played head-to-head, and this will actually touch on the aggressive catching aspect where a lot of people that were playing online just strictly had that mindset, hey, let's snap the ball, I'm going to scramble to the right with my quarterback, and then I'm just going to chunk the ball up downfield and try to aggressive catch it. And pass after... I had one guy go 3 for 16 throwing the ball for 40 yards. I mean, it could be OP. Maybe I'm just not seeing someone do it smartly, but from what I've seen, I've seen more passes being broken up by a large portion than I have seen be complete.
What about you, Brenton?
Man, I played a couple of user games. I played Moz. I played Brian, and tried out.
I won that game.
You what?
I won that game. I was just pointing it out. Keep going.
You won one of those games. And played Brian on the nightmare that is All Madden, and I still have the same stance on All Madden I had last year, that it's just corners just make ridiculous plays no matter which way you look at it. Maybe that's just the way All Madden's always going to be. But I don't know. I tried out Draft Champions after Greatness talked about it so much, and I actually found it pretty enjoyable. I played solo just to sort of get a feel for how the whole thing went. But I don't know. I thought it was kind of cool. You end up with even teams, so everybody kind of gets a legend, and you get some other really good players, and you got to be real smart how you draft. That's a lot of fun. But I don't know. Like I go back and forth on the aggressive catch issue. Some days I'll be playing, and I'll feel like every time me or whoever I'm playing goes for it, they come down with it. And then other times I'll be messing with it, and I'll feel like I should have caught the ball and I didn't come down with it. So I sort of go back and forth. I mean, maybe it's balanced, and that's just the way it's supposed to balance out. Some days you win, and some days you don't. But I can't really say whether it's. Earlier in chat, I was pretty sure it was overpowered, and then I came home and played earlier, and I couldn't bring one down to save my life. So, but overall, like if I hadn't already bought the game, like EA Access, from what I got to play of it, I would have bought it just on the improvements to gameplay and Draft Champions. I didn't expect that I would like it, but I think I'll probably play quite a bit of it.
Yeah, Draft Champions was fun. I touched a few games on it, and I liked the concept of getting that draft. So the experience I had, I played some games with Brian, and we did a few inside the test league with sliders, and penalties were horrible. So we'll have to watch what we do with our penalties. There was 23 penalties between both teams, and I'd say over 75% of them were blocking the back. So we'll have to definitely watch that. But overall, I wanted to say aggressive catching was OP, but then again, I can't say it's OP. I haven't played enough tests, so.
I mean, to touch on the penalty aspect that you were talking of, I'm not sure using the sliders we had for Madden 15 as a test run was necessarily like the best setup. I think using default sliders maybe would have been a better start. I don't think the sliders are honestly that bad to start with.
Well, the reason our penalties from last cycle were so high is because there were so few in the game that Keller tuned it up so we would see more penalties. So as soon as y'all talked about the penalty issue, I knew exactly what it was. It was set too high last cycle because of the game we were playing, and obviously with more penalties in the game this year, you can't set it that high. It's just be something for Keller to look at.
Yeah, I think. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I used to make sliders all the time. I have yet to really test them head-to-head. I believe TMFL 25, we used mine for a while, and then in a few experience leagues we used a few in, but I haven't tested sliders in so long. I've gotten out of it. So it's hard to say where I would start on these, but out of the box, I felt the game felt great. I know playing the computer, there was a few things I might have touched on, but other than that, they did a real good job out of the box this year.
I don't know about everyone else, but I had some issues when it came to run blocking. A lot of mind you,
I was fine.
Falcons' offensive line's terrible, and just getting hit in the backfield almost every handoff. I don't think it was just me. I think Maz even in Seattle, who they don't have the best line either. I was getting to Marshawn in the
Talk about your own
backfield.
team.
I was getting to Marshawn in the backfield almost every play, with the exception of one drive, which I'm sure he'll talk about at some point. But
I don't know which drive you're talking about. You talking about the 5-for-5 completions by Russell Wilson for a touchdown?
But
I might be wrong. Keep going.
obviously, I haven't played enough user games to get a full grasp on it, but run blocking has seemed, in my opinion, so far to be a little weak.
Man, I can't mirror that sentiment. And again, I have a really good offensive line in Dallas, so I can't mirror that sentiment. I did get hit in the backfield a few times, but mostly due to choosing the wrong hole, or just sometimes plays get blown up. Like you can have the best offensive line, and they're still going to give up ground. So I definitely can't say run blocking felt weak. It felt just right to me, but that doesn't mean it doesn't need an adjustment because I have a really good offensive line, so it's kind of hard to stand. I guess maybe we need to test it with someone that has maybe like the Eagles, who have a couple of good pieces. And I don't know, Ibo, have you played anything with the Eagles yet, or?
Well, I touched one game with the Eagles, and that's computer. Most of mine were with the Redskins, and I felt like I was moving the ball up the field fairly decent. Maybe it's just I know what holes to hit, but we'll say right now, if you're the key to running this year will be not to pull that turbo trigger behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
I think even if we was to turn up the run blocking, and I'm not 100% sure that it needs it, honestly. Like, there was some games where I felt like I couldn't run, and then there was other games where I felt like I could just run at will, and I think that just kind of plays into the balance of the game. But even if it's tweaked to turn up the run blocking just a little bit, I don't think it's really going to matter for your line. I think it'll just make it better, so you'll be busting bigger runs.
Yeah, see that's the biggest worry I have with tuning it up is I already get. I mean, I think I was averaging 5 yards a carry, and again, it was against CPU, so users are going to be a lot more variation on that. But I was averaging 5 yards a carry over the 7 or 8 games I played in my franchise.
Another big issue that apparently has been going around on Operation Sports and around our website at traditionsportsonline.com, the progression issue inside the CFM games. I know I played one CFM game against a user, and it seemed like they were linked to drive goals. So we didn't notice that it was so OP that it was unplayable because Jeremy Hill on the Bengals had 103 trucking, and he was not trucking like 103 trucking should be. So it could be just cosmetic, because we did not notice a significant difference in the gameplay inside that game. Have y'all seen any progression inside CFM games? Have y'all tried looking into it?
I haven't touched CFM, so I'm pretty much out on that conversation. I was wanting to kind of delve into it a little bit, but I just never found the time for it. But I mean, that's interesting because if that's true, and I know some people have speculated that the update wouldn't carry over if we started the file early, so it's just something else to consider. But I don't know if Greatness or if Raider, if either of you guys have touched the CFM yet.
I don't have any information when it comes to the progression. I do have some when it comes to the regression, which we'll talk on in a little bit. I have heard some rumors that it could just be a cosmetic thing. I heard the attributes do go up to 120, I believe it is, but I'm not sure if it is cosmetic or if it's something that actually does increase the ratings. It could be a huge issue if it really does increase ratings to the point where people can have 120 trucking or 120 catch rating. But the big question would be, are CFMs that are started able to receive patches afterwards, or would it have to be a restart? Which obviously could be a big deal.
Well, I'm gonna go out on a limb, and I've read some stuff about it. I wasn't able to recreate either the progression or regression in my games. Now, in my CFM, I played to about 8 games and then simmed, so I don't know if that has any sort of bearing on the situation. But I looked at my line, and none of those guys regressed. And Tony Romo, he regressed a little, but it didn't seem anything out of line with him getting a year older. As far as the progression bug, I didn't play a user, and I never really blew anyone out, so I didn't see that myself. Now, some people say it's tied to drive goals, and I've heard it's tied to blowing people out, so there's really no telling with that. However, I will say that this year, all of our CFMs are in the cloud, and I'm wondering if maybe that's not a way that patches can be pushed through the cloud, so we couldn't start the league and then the patch be pushed through. Now, I'm no expert on the way things work, but that was one of the things I remember them touting about the cloud was that, everything's housed there. So if it's all housed in the cloud, why couldn't they push that through to it? And I believe I read somewhere on Operation Sports that they could push the patch through to live CFM. So, I mean, take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah, that would be very great for the league, that if any patch come in, it would be able to come in through the cloud and fix anything. Because, glitches are going to occur that we're going to find maybe even a season or two down the road and need to be patched in, or something that's even noticeable now that they don't get a patch in for 2 seasons down the road. So anything there could be fixed, hopefully. Now, the regression part of the CFM, I simmed one season and noticed progression. I didn't notice any team having anybody on their line or quarterback with red arrows pointing down. Every one of them had red arrows pointing up on their pass block, run block, and their accuracies. So
Well,
I'll let Danny touch on what his
see,
data.
the thing is, yeah, I bit my tongue. Damn, that sucked. So the thing is the red arrows wouldn't show up, I believe, in the case of regression. The arrows are only going to be showing up when it comes to confidence things. At least that's my thought. I'm not 100. I can't confirm that for sure, but I think if you have above 50 confidence, you would have green arrows going up, and if you have below 50 confidence, you would have red arrows going down, or something of that nature.
I think you got it right.
Now, what's supposedly happening is, to my knowledge, it's only affecting left tackles and quarterbacks, which I don't know 100% how it's affecting quarterbacks, but supposedly random left tackles around the league are losing like a giant amount of pass block. So it's now when I say a giant amount, one of the names that I always see pop up when it comes to these simulations is Greg Robinson, who is a left tackle, I believe, for the Rams, who I think he has like a mid 70s maybe pass block to start with. I'm not 100% sure, but I've seen him drop down to as low as like a 54 pass block after one simulated season, which obviously would be a huge deal if that is something that's going to happen. Now, the one thing I do want to point out here is nobody has tested it to see if this will happen when games are being played by users. This has all been a simulation thing.
Well, I mean, it's kind of hard to test that many games.
Yeah, exactly. So if it is something that is going to happen, it's obviously a big deal because you would basically have to replace your left tackle every season.
Yeah, that would absolutely kill me. I don't want to replace Tyron Smith. He's so young.
Now, I also read something that suggested that it was something related with the simulation, like maybe people were super simming and there'd be like a shit ton of sacks that guy would give up in a season, so his attributes would just take a nosedive. I don't know. I've heard a lot of different things about it, but in the end, it's all seems to be that it's just random left tackles around the league. Like, there's no guarantee it will be your left tackle, and there's no guarantee it'll be the Cowboys' left tackle. It's pretty much just a random thing, with the exception of Greg Robinson always seems to be the one player always involved.
And I've always seen Michael Orr, too.
So, I don't know if any other offensive linemen have been affected by it. From what I hear, it's just a left tackle thing, but...
Yeah, that's... And, you know, even if it is just affecting on simulated seasons, let's say it does come down to that, that's going to be something that we have to decide as a league. You know, we may have to throw that out the window, the simulation seasons.
Well,
which
the good news we do have when it comes to that is our first season is obviously going to be a user season. They will more than likely have a patch out for the issue if it is an issue before we get to our simulated season.
True.
You gotta imagine how long a season's gonna take. You got 17 weeks, 3-day advances. If they don't have a patch out for it by the time we're done with not only our first season but our first off season as well, then I'd be pretty surprised by that.
I think the word I was hearing from most people is the big patch should be out in roughly 6 weeks. That's due to it being done and going through the 2-week process of Microsoft and everything. So.
I honestly think it would be fixed before we actually got to that point, to where we actually had to sim the season. And,
now that's
and
still
just in a rare occasion that it wasn't. Talk over me, bitch.
Whoa, hostility. I'm about to beat you with your own little bat. Let me walk over to your house real quick, and I'm going to calm down.
In the case that it wasn't done by then, you know, we could always choose to do the play, and then maybe sim the next 2 seasons or something like that.
Well, the thing is, though, is that, see, you made me forget now. The thing is that no one knows for sure if the regression is going to take place during user games as well. Like, if there's just some glitch in the CFM system where left tackles are going to regress regardless of what they do. Which, if that is the case, that would be a pretty huge blow.
Well, I do think if that is the case, we'd be able to catch it relatively quick. Since we know about it, everybody can be looking out for it. So
That is correct.
Well, that's one of the things though is I'm not sure if it's something that happens like say week 1 or if it's something that starts happening. I don't have much information about like if it's just a random thing that happens at random points in the season, or if it's a gradual regression that happens every week, or what. I'm not sure it'll be necessarily the easiest thing to spot as well either.
Yeah, and what would definitely suck is if you go back in and look and the cost doesn't change to keep upgrading that stat. That would be the really big downfall. If it does regress and then you have to pay full price of, let's say it goes from 84 to 83 and you got to pay the 84 price. I wouldn't think that would happen, but anything's possible. Okay. Up
Yeah.
next, or what were we going to touch on there?
Oh, I was just going to agree with you. You can go ahead and move on.
Up next, we've got Mozzie questions with co-commissioner of the NFC, well, commissioner of the NFC and co-commissioner of Hard at Work 16, Mosaic. So, Moz, or well, we'll call you N. What do you have to tell us? Any news about, let's go with legacy players?
I know a lot of people started to speculate there early that legacy players wasn't going to be allowed, and I saw the tweet, and I know Killer did too, so we all assumed that it wouldn't be. Apparently, Killer tried it, and you can bring edited rosters onto an online CFM, so legacy players are back on track. I don't have a whole lot of information as far as that goes because with other things going on in the league, we haven't really been able to touch on it. And, you know, Killer hasn't really had a lot of time to play with the EA Access. I think he's been spending most of his time playing Grand Theft Auto for whatever reason. But, I mean, it's going to take a while. I know he's planning on trying to get the league up and rolling by Sunday, but you consider a little bit of that downtime for the free agency wire, getting everybody settled in, letting everybody get the game, everybody joining, and things like that. So, and we got to tweak the sliders and get some conversations rolling with that. And it's going to be a long process. I know a lot of people were a little antsy about starting that early, and some people are just ready to roll. But it's going to be a longer process than I think what people actually realize.
Now, Maz, while we have you here, me and you were talking earlier today, and I'm gonna break a world exclusive here. You know, I feel like people should know that. I want you to say, is it true that all skill positional players are going to have their speed reduced to 88 speed?
No, I cannot confirm that. Other than Joshua Lucas will have 85 speed.
Like, if it is true though, just sit there and people will know that their players will all have 88 speed. Confirmed first, right here.
He just said it wasn't confirmed.
Listen, let's just move on,
the
guys.
only person I can confirm on is Joshua Lucas. Joshua Lucas will not be in Madden 16. No, I don't know how the speed nerfs are going to be worked down. Obviously, we got some guys with corners that are stud corners, not like what we're going to actually see in the draft, where these guys have like 97 speed and 90 coverage. I mean, those guys are probably going to be tuned down. I don't have all the statistics on it, but I mean, you look at some of the other players like Arrington, for example. He had 90 speed and like 88 XL. So honestly, I don't know if he's going to actually have as much of a tuning and as
Should
some
probably
other guys
just
will need
take
to be.
away some of his height, like chop his ankles off, make him 6'3". I think that'd be fair for everybody.
Well, considering he's only going to have 88 XL, which is going to be like one of the slowest wide receivers on my team, I think we're going to add like 4 to 5 inches on his height.
Another question for Ian here. So
You can just say Moz, man. I don't know why it says Ian. I think that was just a glitch with my Google account.
is that not your name?
Yeah, let's
No,
just keep calling him Ian.
His name's
I
Steven.
think it's because my YouTube channel had I Am Mosaic, and I think it just worked out weird like that.
Let's just call him Ian anyway because it fits.
I mean, you can. I know who you're talking to. It's just the first time I was on the show, it really threw me off. I was like, who the hell is he talking to?
We'll call you Moss from now on. That's easy. Ian.
I will continue to
Alright.
call you Ian for the rest of the show.
So you would have to say, let's say we start the league Sunday, quotation marks, probably another week before kickoff at the earliest.
Man, I want to say we'd actually get it done before a week. I think in about a week we could probably be midway through week one. It's just I can't remember how we actually done it last season. What is it, like 48 hours or something for waiver wire, and then 48 hours for another waiver wire? So
Honestly, I'm not sure.
you're looking at 4 days there. I mean, it may be different, it may be less, but I know last season or last cycle, season 1 had the most hits for waiver wires. So it all just depends on who's trying to pick up who's actually interested in guys, who's making cuts for their roster during preseason, and things like that. I mean, all that stuff just accumulates more time. So it can literally go anyway, but I think by maybe Friday or Saturday we should be able to roll into week one. That's just me guessing. Keller can pop up and chat and bitch and say that I got it wrong or whatever.
And you know what
Obvious.
happens in week one? The Philadelphia Eagles go in and thrash
God.
the Falcons. Just,
You better prepare some popcorn because that's gonna be a long game for you, doggy.
oh,
Listen. I beat you in that Super Bowl game using a completely new team with the buttons for the play calling weren't. I was calling the wrong plays all game, and I still beat you. Then you're gonna say you're gonna come into my house with my team and you're gonna thrash me. You might want to ask around because I'm the well, let me say second best because I don't want Coach to get all butt hurt. I'm the second
That was
best
easy
player
for you
in the
to say.
NFC. That's not gonna change this cycle.
Second best player in the NFC who doesn't have an NFC championship.
I'll let Tim Tebow do the talking.
You know, I've got
But-
this picture of Blake Bortles when he played for the Falcons.
Listen.
And you just better remember, bitch, because I'm in the
Listen.
NFC now. And you know what that means? It means I wear the crown.
Listen. Back on topic here. When it comes to waiver wires, I honestly think it could be a 24-hour thing. You got to think with Madden just coming out, this should be honestly the most active time that we should have at any point during the cycle. I mean, everyone's going to be fresh on the game. Everyone's going to be playing the game pretty much daily at this point. So I do think it could be a 24-hour thing. Obviously, I'm not Keller. I don't have any control over that. Whatever he says goes. All hail Dictator Keller. But I really do think we can move it along somewhat quicker this time than we did last year. Last year, you have to think that this was the first time we ever did this. This was the first time Keller ever ran his own league. So there were going to be bumps.
That's not true because Keller was the commissioner of TMFL back in the day. So
I would like to touch on deadlines. How can we hit a 24-hour deadline when we can't hit a 48-plus hour deadline? So,
yeah, Moz, how do you feel about that whole thing? I know you were half asleep when the whole thing went down last night, but what are your thoughts on the whole thing?
I feel for the guy, man. You know, I don't want to mention any names. I'm sure everybody knows who we're talking about, but you know, I feel bad. But as some players stated, he had read the thread beforehand, and he never posted. And I mean, you've got to abide by those rules that were set, because I mean, what if the next guy that didn't make it insidious or whatever, if he's like, okay, you know, I was doing the same thing, why couldn't I get in? I mean, then you've got all these holes right there starting right off the bat. I mean, it's before the damn leagues even started. So, I mean, I feel for you, Corey, but I mean, there's nothing we could do in that sense.
as Maz's son says in the background, hang in there, Corey.
You know, Moz, we were talking earlier about the whole the whole thing, and you said something that I think is really important, and I think attitude is a big thing, and I'm guilty of losing my cool and jumping out there with an attitude.
What?
So
Yeah.
I can relate to the guy him being frustrated, but I definitely don't think pushing the issue last night did him any favors. But again, he's at the bottom of the wait list, just like in Dominus X, and this isn't the last time we'll do a roll call, and I'm sure somebody else won't check in. And I mean, you can't make everybody happy, and so I feel for Keller in that regard, and you and Freak, because sort of y'all three are the target of ire anytime something like this comes up.
Right, man, and like I said, I feel for him. I know Keller did too, and he tried to reason with him, but I mean, your attitude goes a long way, and I just think he went about the whole issue the wrong way. Same way as Sean, and I mean that was just a complete mess up with the teams and stuff. And luckily, Sean's going to get his chance to get back in the league, which I'm sure he's excited about. But I mean, just go about it the right way. I mean, I know everybody's going to get touchy and stuff. I mean, it was a shitty situation, but at the same time, there's really not a whole lot we could do.
Speaking of Keller and these other teams, it's past his 5 o'clock deadline. Announce the new team. So wherever Keller's at, it's past your deadline. But
Well,
he's probably golfing.
yeah, poor Keller.
I was actually going to say he's probably swimming somewhere with his shirt on, but no.
I really wish, this is totally off topic, but I really wish I was there when the whole Keller swims with his shirt on thing got started.
It was glorious.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa. Listen, while we have some free time here, I think we're starting to run out of topics. I will say this: like, I'm very optimistic about this season. Obviously, not having much game time in yet, it makes it a little hard to tell how I'm gonna do because of the game with all these new mechanics. But my roster is pretty good. I've got a couple trades lined up. Obviously, still game has to come out before we can even submit anything. But I'm very optimistic about this season. I think not only will I win the South, but I really do think I have a strong chance to take the NFC this first season.
Dude, you have lost your mind.
Easy peasy.
Seriously, you're gonna get. I'm not trying to knock your user skills because I've never beaten you, so take it for what it's worth. But you got a gauntlet, man. You have.
This is the thing. Like, I understand everyone's on the a lot of people are on the coach train when it comes to the NFC South. Now, you've got to look at the strengths and weaknesses of each user. My strength was always pass rushing. I was always able to get like 2 guys to 18 sacks a season. Now, when you look at that Bucs offensive line, they're weak as hell. So I don't know. It really depends on how the aggressive catching does turn out. Obviously, he's going to have 4 different targets that are 6'5", but
man, and another thing, like, I'm not talking about just coach. Rachi's got a pretty good Saints roster. I mean, they lost some people for sure, but that offensive line with Unger, anchoring it in the middle, I really think that, again, it all depends on how Ranchi plays. He's so hot and cold, but when he's on, man, he can win some games. So.
I throw Ranchi into the same pile of people that haven't beaten me yet. Like, I think there becomes a mindset at some point when you play somebody so many times, and they constantly beat you, where you psych yourself out going into every game. And I already feel like I've gotten to that point with Ranchi.
Well, I don't feel like you've got to that point with me, because even though you shut me out, you didn't just obliterate me like that playoff game the first time we played. I mean, you beat.
I really feel like I demoralized your spirit, though.
And that shutout hurt. I mean, because I had such a good offense in that shutout. But then again, I didn't feel as bad about it. I mean, mostly because you had a top 5 defense all cycle, I think. So.
Not as bad as you did during the Super Bowl.
Man, that game.
It's going to be a very interesting season, boys. I used to be on the Maz train. I used to think Maz was going to take the NFC West, but here recently, I've jumped off the Maz train. The Richard Sherman hype is officially dead.
Is that before or after he beat you that you hopped off the monster?
I don't know what you're talking about. That game didn't happen. I don't think Maz is going to win the West. My new prediction for the West is going to be John Galt to win the West, and Maz to go 3-13.
The thing about John Galt is he's an incredibly good user who's sort of always been a dark horse. I don't think in any of the radio shows or anything anybody's ever really picked him, and he's always been pretty consistent. So I wouldn't say that's a terrible pick, but I still think that the West is Maz's to lose.
The thing about John Galt is I would put him in the category of a good user, but he's just under like the top users in the NFC constantly. Like he can make the playoffs on a regular basis. He just never seems to show up in the big games against the other top tier users to put himself in that next level of users.
I can see that.
I've got to appreciate what you're saying there, Greatness. It's easy to talk shit to somebody that almost beat you with a 3-13 season in season 1. That thrashed you a couple seasons later with a shitty Browns squad that I ran into the ground.
Listen,
and then I beat you with the Seahawks in Madden 16. So,
okay, first off, the Browns roster wasn't bad. Like the Browns roster always had talent there. You were just the most inconsistent user like I've ever seen in Madden. Like you could have incredibly good games, and then the next game come out and look like the absolute worst user I've ever seen play Madden. Then, in terms of the Madden 16 game, we're talking about the Seattle fucking Seahawks against the Atlanta Falcons. We're talking about like the 92 overall Seahawks versus the 77 overall Falcons, and you had like a magnificent pick six by Booby Wagner to win the game.
But the thing about all that is, Greatness, is that's what we're starting the league with. So if you can't beat him there, what makes you think you're going to take over the Falcons and go to the Super Bowl season 1?
I have a very big impact player on the way that's going to shock a couple people, I feel like.
You think you're the only one that's making trades?
I do not, but I think this one's going to make some very big waves.
Well, since you're talking about the impact players, I just want to bring back that Russell Wilson went 5 for 5 against your defense in a matter of like 25 seconds to get a late half touchdown. So what are you going to do whenever I've got my impact players? What are you going to do?
That was cool. That was a great job. I'm not going to say that. But let's talk about how Richard
I've got a receiver that can catch?
Let's talk about how Richard Sherman looked like an average cornerback going up against Julio Jones.
That's just because I was baiting you. I'm trying to get you to throw to Bobby Wagner.
Let's talk about how, other than one play in both games, your defense looked like Swiss cheese up against an Atlanta Falcons offense.
But it was still 10-10, was it not? It was still 10-10 with like 30 seconds left, right?
That was so.
What are you gonna do whenever I actually get my defense on par? Might I also add that this all went down seconds after I booted the game up. I was still in the intro. And he was like, "Hey man, you want to play?
We're not asking for details here. You're adding unnecessary knowledge to the database."
I only played the intro for like 5 seconds, and I had to play your ass. I won.
If you make the playoff season 1, because I'll be there. I know I'm going to be there. If you make the playoff season 1, I will guarantee victory against the Seattle Seahawks in the playoffs.
I just want to point out that you're not even going to be in the playoffs because you can't get past Coach, bitch.
Even if I can't get past Coach, which, mind you, in recent memory, I won the last contest with Coach, eliminating him from the playoffs. But even if I can't get past Coach, I'll still be a wild card team, and I'll still kick your ass in the playoffs.
Nah, that was before you pissed Raunchy off with your statements earlier.
Philly's going all the way. Just going to throw that out there.
All the way to the dumpster bowl.
Hey, I will say, first game in a year and a half against a user, you only beat me by 10. So stick skills will be better.
Well, see, the thing is that people don't realize about me is, like, I never blow anybody out. Like, except that one game against Raider in Jacksonville. That was just a terrible game for him.
Dude, that
But
game sucks so bad.
I never blow anyone out. If you look at my 13-3 seasons in Atlanta, I always had so many 3-point victories. Like, I'm never going to blow anybody out, but I will demoralize you, and I will break your soul and make you wish I blew you out.
I can't even respond to that. That
I
doesn't
really
even
feel like
half
the only
league.
person in here. I feel like the only person in here not talking shit right now.
You are.
You know, it's funny considering how you two are division rivals, and
I'll let my talk on the field week 2.
I mean, I'm not gonna say that. Obviously, you're both Cowboy fans, so I guess you're probably like hugging and kissing when you're off camera. But I'm gonna need to see some division rivalry heat at some point.
Dude, I never really had any rivalry with anyone. I mean, maybe Big K, but we always had such a good time playing and talking. It's like I told Troy the other night, I'm not really into the sit around shit talking. It has a lot to do with, I mean, if you shit talk and you lose, you look like an asshole, but if you win, you look cool. So I'd rather just stay completely neutral, and that way if I lose, I'm like, oh man, that was a good game.
That is true. Well, I think that's
The one
about.
time I talked a bunch of shit, I got fucking blanked 19-0 against Greatness, so I think I learned my lesson.
Ooh.
It doesn't matter. He can't do that to me, so you still got that to talk shit about.
Oh, Miles. I don't understand it. Miles was like so inconsistent, but every time he played me, it was like he was playing the best games of his life. It's like he saved his power-up buttons for our game every time.
He did. He was helping me get past you and get that bye week.
Ooh.
Ooh,
Amazing.
the truth comes out.
Amazing.
Are you about to wrap up, Abo?
Yeah, I think we've hit our time for tonight.
I got one last thing I want to say before you close it out.
I can only
If your
imagine.
team isn't green, get the fuck off my green font.
Well, my team is green, so. No.
Stay off my green font.
We will be live again Wednesday night, joined by. Maybe we can get Keller on the show, but I think Wednesday's is off night, so I don't know. But we will be back Wednesday night. So till then, enjoy Madden, play the shit out of it. Let us know your thoughts, and we will see y'all Wednesday.
Greatness a fag.